Welcome to Kieran Horn CFB, and today we have a very special guest of us, and that is the Houston Christian High School varsity quarterback, Calder Hodge, who's here to tell us his story. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me on.
No, I appreciate it. And for a lot of people don't know, you're quite a unique quarterback. And why don't you go ahead and tell the folks what makes you different from a lot of the other quarterbacks today?
So, at while I was born with a rare birth defect called fibular hemophilia, which basically means that my fibia and tibia bones were not developed fully while I was in my mom. So basically, I my parents decided that at the age of 2 that they were going to amputate both of my legs.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of stories about you online, and despite being born with this condition and then obviously having to have your legs amputated at such a young age, it never stopped you from playing sports or, I've seen you running, I've seen you playing football, but how did you decide that football was the game you wanted to play and you weren't going to let this disability stand in your way?
So I grew up in Texas, which obviously football is king in Texas. And then I also had three older brothers. They all played Texas high school football, and I just grew up around football. I mean, I was at their games every Friday. I was watching football with them on Thursday through Monday. We were watching every level. Just that was our whole weekend was just watching football. So I fell in love with it at a very young age, and so then it was just kind of figuring out how to do it.
What's been the difficulty of playing football with, obviously you use prosthetics? I think they're called blades. They're like what Olympic runners and stuff
Yes.
use. What's the difference in you between other quarterbacks? And did the coaches, have any difficulty coaching you, or did it just come naturally to you being a Texas kid who loves football?
So the mental aspect of football has always come very easy to me, just because I've been around it my whole life and I understand the game very well. But some difficulties that I've had are it the mobility aspect of playing quarterback, which is very evident in today's game. That has always sort of hindered me. I'm very good in short spaces, but I'm not the fastest kid in the world. So it that's been an aspect that coaches just kind of my coaches definitely learned to live with it. And I think that every coach that I played for, especially when I first joined the team, they're very hesitant on, kind of why I'm here. I think every school except for Houston Christian, which I transferred to my sophomore year. Houston Christian, they really opened a door for me after my freshman year. I had a great freshman year at Legacy, the School of Sports Science. But then the former head coach of Houston Christian, Coach Nelson, he reached out to me and he said, we would love to have you over here, and I think that we could open you up a few more doors. And so I decided to go over there, and they were right on it from the jump. They understood what limitations I had with sort of quarterback run game, things like that. Just trying to keep me in the pocket as much as possible. And then so they kind of designed their play calls around that.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, I don't know, like you've got something extra than these other quarterbacks because you've had to overcome these hurdles? Do you feel that that's prepared you to be more mentally strong than other players, or do you think you're just like any other guy and you don't even think about obviously your disability when you're on the field?
Well, I never think about my disability when I'm on the field, but I think that my mental strength it's very high just because of I've heard a lot of things in my life. I'm a kid that puts myself in the spotlight a lot just to get my story out there. And I'm a very big believer, and I don't like doing this for the attention. I do this to show people that they can do whatever they put their mind to. And some people may not be about that. They don't like that. They'll heckle, they'll let their thoughts be known. And so I've had a very strong I've had a very strong mind ever since I was young, and my story really started getting out there.
And recently, I saw that you attended a Texas A&M football camp, and obviously, you can see my LSU hat. I'm not going to bash Texas A&M too much, but how was that experience going to play at one of these D1 football camps, knowing you've had to overcome more hurdles than any of the players there?
It was awesome. I did great. I appreciate Coach Dickey, the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, for inviting me out. He reached out to me around March and came up to school, visited me. We talked for a little bit, and then he reached out and he said, "Hey, I want you to come up for camp." Went up there, and I just showed him what I can do. I mean, I'm a very good passer of the football. I have developed a very good arm. So I think they really enjoyed watching what I could do.
Oh, I can tell that watching your tape. Your arm is insane, especially I coach quarterbacks at the high school level, and some of the things, the things I always focus on are mechanics. How do your mechanics differ from other quarterbacks in terms of having to navigate with, you've got the prosthetic legs. How has that changed your passing game and how you attack the football?
So, I can't use as much of my lower body to throw the football. I can't really, bend my knee, things like that. So I've really worked on rotationally being able to twerk my body into throwing. I've watched a lot of tape on Dan Marino and then Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, because those are guys that are just crazy about rotating their body and getting power into their throws by doing that. So that's mainly the big things that I focus on. And then extension, getting the ball away from my body as far as possible. But then I've also, in the past couple of years, just to sort of pick up for that lack of mobility, I've started to develop being able to throw from different arm angles so that I can throw at different slots at any given point in a game where if a guy's running at me and I may not be able to get away, I can just throw around him. So
I was about to say, we see that more and more, I think, with quarterbacks today, especially the guys coming out of high school, that they are able to throw the sidearm passes and stuff a lot. But obviously, that's evident in your game. And you've sort of worked around your issues with mobility to build yourself into a quarterback. But going forward into the future, what are your hopes? And what do you hope to achieve at Houston Christian?
So short-term goals, obviously, is our team is in a really good position this year. Coach Nelson, sorry, he retired this year, and our defensive coordinator, Coach Eisenman, stepped up into the head coaching role. We our stigma for the past few years has been we're a very young team, but this year we're all kind of grown up. Every guy that's on our varsity team has been starting for at least a year or two. So I think that we're ready to make a run at the state championship, and that is definitely the short-term goal. But long-term, I want to play college football, and then ultimately, I want to be a coach.
What school do you most want to go to? I'm going to assume A&M.
So yeah, that's the dream offer. That is definitely the dream. But I'll really go play anywhere. I've talked to coaches from the Division I level all the way down to JUCO, and every single one of the schools that I've talked to, I'm extremely interested in going in.
That's good as well, that there's so much, interest in you as a player. You are a very unique player. But I think also just people being able to see your story will inspire younger kids who maybe feel a little bit, limited by maybe the hand they've been dealt in life. And I see that you, not only through your faith, but just through your drive on your field, have the chance to inspire all these people. Is that a goal for you, to not only play Division I football, but to inspire people like yourself to not let their physical limitations stop them from achieving their dreams?
Most definitely. That's why I play. That's my reason why. Every time that we go into a tough workout, I just think about that kid that's sitting in their house with a disability, thinking that their life is over when it's not. I mean, if they go in and they put in the work day in and day out like I did, they can put their mind and they can do whatever they want to do. I went in, I worked every single day. I threw balls in my backyard with my older brother for hours on end. And that doesn't have to be just in sports. You can go out and be a pro gamer if you want to. You can go out and be, the best. You can go out and be the president, but it doesn't matter. You just need to understand that if you have been dealt a bad deck of cards, as I like to say, you can go out and do anything with them.
And obviously, we are here to talk football, but I did want to ask a couple questions, like about your family and how they felt when obviously everything happened. They obviously were sad or hurt, but the way they talk about you is just inspirational. And the fact that you never gave up and you were out, and I've seen videos of you running, I've seen videos of you playing football. You've never let anything stop you. Have your family just been there to help push you, or have they kind of been a little bit worried about you going out there?
So as I've said, I had three older brothers, and so it was a full family decision to make the amputation. But I think that they wanted to give me the most normal life possible, and whatever I wanted to do, they were going to support me fully. But my three older brothers really pushed me, and I mean, when I told them that I wanted to play football and I told them my goals, they supported me 100%. My whole family did. My mom, she was a little hesitant when I told her I wanted to play football, but
as moms always are.
As she always is, she was really worried for her baby. But my brothers helped me convince her that it was the right thing for me to do and that I would be safe. So I mean, they push me. They do. You know, my brother Tyler, he'll never let me know that he's proud of me, but I know he is, and he knows that I work, and I know that he enjoys watching me play.
Yeah, that's a typical older brother though. They won't ever let you
Oh
have
yeah,
one over on you, but maybe when you win that state championship soon, he'll come up and he'll say, "Hey, I'm proud of you." But
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully.
no, I'm sure he will. But when we get back to football, Coach Eisenman at Houston Christian, how big of a part of your life is he now that you are in there? You are on the varsity team. You're going to start getting recruited more and more over the coming years. How much of a big part has he played in developing you as a football player?
So Coach Eisman, he was on the staff as our defensive coordinator when I first got to Houston Christian, and I actually took his global affairs class. So we developed a very strong bond in that class. And when they promoted him to head coach, it was awesome. So I mean, he took my input on a lot of things. You know, like when we were making our offensive staff, he asked me my thoughts about who we were bringing in, and I'm extremely ecstatic for everybody that he brought in. He brought back the quarterback coach my sophomore year, who was my personal quarterback trainer, JP Tillman. We brought in a young offensive coordinator. We're running the run and shoot, which I love. That's an amazing offense. I get to throw the ball around a lot, and so I mean, he puts a lot of input in. He puts a lot of trust in me because he understands that my mental side. I'm a coach mentally, but I'm still a player. So I love that, and he's developing me into not only a good player but a good coach.
Yeah, would you say your limited mobility actually kind of gives you a little bit of a edge when it comes to reading the field and things like that, just because you are focused more on getting the ball out and you don't necessarily have the option to just create space and scramble?
You know, I always work on creating space and trying to get space between me and a defender, but I mean, ultimately it's not going to happen every time, but I'm a very big believer big believer in being prepared for every game. So I mean, I'm in the film room every day for hours on end. You know, my mom has to pry me away to get me home some nights. So I mean, I prepare very well, so I know exactly what your defense is going to do, and I think that helps me a lot with my lack of mobility. I've made up for that in my arm strength and my mental side of the game.
Yeah, it's like you said about the arm strength. Obviously, you mentioned Patrick Mahomes, and everyone remembers that fantastic pass he threw in the Super Bowl where he was,
Parallel.
horizontal and still managed to put a ball 30 yards down the field right in a
Oh yeah.
guy's helmet, although it wasn't caught. That's exceptional. The plays like that just show that, hey, even though I don't have necessarily traditional mechanics, I can still do this just as good as anyone.
If you can spin it, you can spin it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like, there's kids I've coached who, they couldn't pass the ball necessarily when they first started because they just, they didn't know how to throw a ball
Yeah.
correctly. But you work with them enough, and they manage to develop those skills, and that's why it's so impressive that you develop those skills.
Oh yeah.
So, um, as you look towards winning this state championship, do you have any goals outside of football that you'd like to achieve as well?
So one thing that I'm really excited for this summer is I'm headed up to Illinois for a camp. It's an all sports camp, and I will be one of the football coaches there. But the camp is for limb different athletes. So it's kids of all ages that are limb different athletes from all over this nation. And I'm really excited to get up there and help coach because I used to go to that camp when I was a kid. So I just can't wait to give back to those kids and teach them my ways and teach them how to get to the level that I'm at.
Yeah, it's obviously you mentioned about coaching being obviously the goal for you. What level do you actually want to coach at? Do you want to be a high school coach and help give back to like differently abled kids, like you said, or would you like to go coach D1, NFL? What's the goal for you?
So I've put a lot into thought. I put a lot of thought into this off season because it's getting closer and closer to my football career being over. I hope that I get another 4 years in college, but it's not guaranteed. But I've thought about it, and I want to coach. I want to stay in the high school level. I want to coach in Texas, but if the opportunity presents itself to go be a play caller, like an offensive coordinator at a Division I school, I think that would be awesome too.
Yeah, you clearly have the mental facilities to diagnose defenses and, you know, quite part of the quarterback game is mental. You can't do the quarterback unless you can't play quarterback unless you're smart, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're running like I don't know RPOs or something like that consistently.
Oh yeah.
So as you like move forward and college gets closer, are you set on playing football at college, or are you happy to go straight and maybe as you know an intern to work with the football team in that respect, or do you want to get your degree first?
So, I mean, whatever opportunity presents itself, I need to be around football personally. So, if I have an opportunity to play, I'm going to take it. I don't care what level it is. It could be some Division 5 school in northern, Iowa, but I'll take it. Just to be around the game. And I mean, coaching. Your coaching clock gets sped up so much when you're in the college level because you're already there, and so you can get a GA job really easily. So that's kind of my plan, is to get into a program and just really learn as much as I can as a player, to then where I can transfer into being a GA and getting my coaching experience up.
Yeah, and that's you also talked about like having interest from straight down to the JUCO level. We know how far that can take people. We've seen Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Cam Newton, all these guys come through
Yeah.
the JUCO system. Is that a door that you're very much keeping open?
100%. I've had multiple JUCOs reach out to me, and I've always thought that JUCO football seems really fun. They don't have any restrictions on practice, they don't have any restrictions on workouts, they don't have any, you know, it's a lot of time in the game of football, and they always say that you have to love it to really succeed in the JUCO level. But I love football, and so if a JUCO team wants to take a shot on me, and I feel like it's a really good fit for me, I think that I'll take it.
And was quarterback the position you always wanted to play from when you were a kid?
Oh, 100%. I was watching Case Keenum back when I was a kid at U of H, just absolutely light teams up on Saturday. And I remember watching that. I believe it was the Rice game in 2008 or 9, when he just went absolutely crazy, broke almost every record in the nation for a single game passing stat.
Yeah, I
And
remember
I,
that
I
game.
was
That was insane.
I wanted to be like that. And so I did that. But then I also, when I first started playing, you needed two positions. So I also played a little bit of defensive line because that's what my brothers played.
Yeah, and when you obviously look at like your inspirations, and not necessarily just in the football world, are there any athletes you look up to and try and model your game and the way you carry yourself after?
Uh, I've got to say Case Keenum, just because of the way he carries himself. I mean, he's a very God-fearing man. Not only his ability on the field, but off. I love that he loves his faith and he's not afraid to show it. And he also goes on the field, and when he gets an opportunity, he balls.
It, and obviously, you're attending a Christian high school right now. How important is your faith to you, and how does it implement when you are, in the locker room or in practice, or maybe a workout's getting tough? How much does your faith keep you going, and how much does it matter to you?
Oh, it is a huge aspect of my life. It's number one. I mean, without God, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't be alive, honestly. So I mean, I just give it all to him. Anything that I'm going through, I give it to him. I give all my successes to him. I give all my failures to him. Everything that, he helps me so much. And I'm just so blessed that he put me in this situation at Houston Christian where I could build my faith. Our player development coach, Coach Trickett, he has absolutely helped my faith tremendously. I mean, we'll sit in the locker room in the mornings before school and just talk for hours about different things about the Bible, just to help me get my faith strong, because I feel like if I have my faith strong, then there's no enemy that I can't go up against.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. Like, obviously, a lot of football players, faith is a big part of their, how they carry themselves. And it's great to see someone who is a varsity quarterback who's already on that sort of track. But when it comes to, the locker room and things like that, do the players, and you're obviously leading a locker room, how well do you integrate maybe your faith into that?
So, I mean, again, I'm very blessed to be at a Christian school. So most guys that are there, almost all of them, they're very accepting of it, and they are carry themselves the exact same way. So, I mean, it's awesome. And I came from a school which obviously wasn't a Christian based school. So, I mean, everybody's just really accepting. I mean, I think that honestly, I came from a football school at Legacy, the School of Sports Science, where sport was the main thing, and they understood where I was on my faith, and they accepted it. And then now I'm at Houston Christian, where everybody accepts it. And I love being in a locker room like that because you can just bounce, questions and ideas off of each other, and guys will answer and we'll figure it out together.
Do you think all being Christian actually helps you bond as a team? Because already before you go in, before knowing, hey, you like this band or this is your favorite video game or whatever, you already have something in common that there's a very strong belief for all of you.
Yeah, I think that it does help, but we still bond like any other team does. We go out on team dinners and we go on team trips. So I think that we bond in that aspect, but I think that our faith's just kind of a stepping off point. When you first get to the school, you kind of have this understanding that everybody there is Christian and everybody there is very accepting. So I mean, it's a very easy team to transfer to.
And what is your pre-game routine in terms of like what's maybe your meal you eat before every game, or what's something you do the night before? Maybe it's a movie, or do you have a song in the locker room that you listen to get pumped up? What's your sort of walk us through maybe the night before and then in the locker room before the game? What do you do to get prepared?
So the night before, I always ask, or actually the night before, we go out to eat as a team, and depending on where we go from there, I'll just eat whatever's on the menu. I'm not a big superstitious guy. I don't have to do the same thing over and over. On a couple things I do, but then game day, wake up, go to school, put my jersey on before we go to class, and then after school we have pregame meal. So I'll eat that, and then we have about an hour and a half to 2 hours where it's just like player rest time. So I'll take a nap, and then I'll have one of our coaches wake me up about 30 minutes before that time's over, and I'll start putting on my football legs and my football pants, and I'll just take a pregame walk around the field and sort of visualize where everybody's going to be. I stand in front of the student section and I visualize what it's going to look like during the game. I always go find where my parents sit pregame just to see where they're going to be at, and then I walk over to the visiting team student section just to I like to visualize everything. So I do that, and then I play a little bit of light catch with one of my friends that comes out with me. Then after that, we go through pregame meetings, come out, warm up, and then we're ready to go.
And how does it feel when you finally take the field and you finally get the ball snapped into your hands, knowing you've had to overcome more obstacles than almost anyone out there?
Goosebumps every single time, man. I love it. I love having goosebumps. Right when you're standing in the tunnel, you got the band playing, we got an amazing drum line, and they're just going crazy. I just get goosebumps, and I'm ready to go. I'm always the one carrying out the American flag, so I'm one of the first two guys out. And so, I mean, I just get so antsy, but as soon as that ball snapped, I know it's go time.
That sounds like one of the best feelings in the world. And this is going to be quite a serious question, but you feel free to answer it in any way you can. But it's just something I like to ask people, especially as we wind down towards the end of an interview. But how would you like to be remembered? And not necessarily in football or in life, just how, when people talk about Calder Hodge, what would you like them to say?
I would like them to remember me as an overcomer. I want them to remember me as a good guy who he overcame a lot of things in his life, but he remained positive. He remained to help people. And I just want to be a person that's remembered for the good that he did, not the bad.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a very profound answer as well, because obviously you've had to overcome a ton of hurdles. And I think getting your story out there is very important, even to my right now limited audience. I think it's very important that even just, one kid who is differently abled can see this story and know that, you are
Oh
not
yeah.
limited by the hand that life has dealt you. You can do anything you set your mind to, and you are proving that. And I think you're a fantastic young man. And honestly, you're an inspiration to anyone who's going to be able to put eyes on your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And, as you said, I mean, that's the whole goal. I mean, if only one kid can see this and he's in even a similar situation to me, and after watching this, he has that urge to go do something with his life. I mean, that's what I want. That's what
And
it's all about.
yeah, you're not limited by the hand life has dealt you, and whether you believe in God or not, or whether you want to achieve things through God, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. And that's really admirable that you have giving up your time to just come out here and speak your message. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And you're over on Twitter at Calder Hodge. That's CalderHodgeQB15. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're posting a lot of great videos about your throw-in. We've obviously seen you in the Texas A&M jersey. So I can't wait to watch your journey from here. You are, like I've said, probably a million times already in this interview, you are truly an inspirational young man, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.